Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC, everybody. I'm Ken, and today I'm looking at my Axial SCX 10.3 Early Bronco. We blew the servo in it at Beat the Creek. This guy here, you can hear it. It's crunchy, stripped, and we're installing a new servo. And I realized, and I did some research on this, and basically, if you don't have the 25 tooth Axial servo horn, which we don't have, and we're leaving for Axial Fest today, well, tomorrow morning at like 4 in the morning, then you are going to have a hard time installing an aftermarket servo. Most 25 tooth servos have a servo horn like this, right? You can see that. This is just a basic Endura servo horn. It doesn't sit as low as this guy when you're in your chassis. This drops down and you've got a bunch of clearance. Also, the gear here sticks out pretty far on this servo. So if your servo has more of a low profile like this, see how low that gear sits in there? Or your servo horn doesn't come out like this, kind of like this, you're going to have an issue with your servo horn hitting on your chassis. You can see it right there. It's kind of rubbing. It'll also hit over here, okay, as your servo horn swings, because the servo horn is not sitting down far enough. So we're determined to get this to work, and I figured we'll pull out the servo, see if we can chop down the mounts, and we did. So let me show you what we did to make this work. It wasn't too bad. Doesn't take a ton of work. You will need probably a Dremel. I went ahead and just used some more flush cuts, and these two little nibs here, I just snipped them down. We went a little further than I probably should have. We probably should have left maybe 1 more millimeter on there, but it's fine. There's plenty of material. You can see it. Plenty of material to still screw into both here and there. And then we had to Dremel out a little bit, at least for this servo. We could also trimmed, oh, here we go. We also could have just trimmed the ear, but I figure almost all the servos we have are just like this one as far as the mounts are concerned. And so if we ever need to change or put another servo in, I'd rather have just cleaned this out. And this piece, like no joke, sorry, the desk is a mess right now because I'm like in a rush. But I wanted to show you guys this. So this piece, literally you can see, well, it's actually different on this side. Interesting. It only came out to like right here, right? Like it kind of, this is a mount hole right here. And the piece basically came out to like this. And then it cuts all the way into the chassis. You can see there's no dremeling on the chassis right here. It's probably hard to see, but the dremeling stops right there. And really it stops like right here. So we took off, what, 2 millimeters maybe, just to make space so that that servo tab, the mount tab or ear, can drop down into there. So that just took a little bit. We used a ball end like this so we didn't have to take the whole thing apart. And we just kind of dremeled away at it and cleaned it out so that we would sit a little closer to these mounting spots. Now, on the back side, I'm going to pull this guy back apart and I'll show you. There's basically a little mount that you can slide forward and backward. Oh, this is the wrong size. I'm like, why won't it go? 2 millimeters. There's a little mount in here, and that little mount can actually just be flipped around. So let me show you that. Of course, we dropped our screw, we dropped our mount. All right. So this little mount here usually sits like this in there, right? Sits like this, and your servo sits on top, and you put your screws in here. Well, you can literally just flip this guy over. We made a little bit of extra space because it seemed like it was kind of hitting. So we just dremeled just a tiny, this servo seems a little bit bigger. We just dremeled a tiny bit to clear this up, dremeled out a tiny bit here and here, but we were able to take this mount and literally just flip it around. We dremeled out the center. It was already dipped like that, but for some reason, there was like a little webbing piece that kind of goes to about, well, like that. You can see where the black is now. It was about like that. We dremeled it down just like that extra millimeter or two. That way it sits a little more flush. Again, you probably don't have to dremel anything to do this part, but we just wanted things to kind of, we wanted to still be able to adjust this forward and backward just a little bit. And again, had the Dremel out already with the bit that we could easily do it. We used a wheel on this one just to kind of cut it out. You can use an X-Acto knife to chop that out, no problem. But you flip this guy over, it sits right there on top of that little spot. It's like they designed it to be flipped, but then there was like just a tiny bit you needed to take out here and there to make it really smooth. So I don't know. It's like they designed it to fit, but they didn't. So who knows? Anyway, now you can just throw your little mount in here. Again, it drops it down from being this high, and you flip it over, and now it's only this high, right? So you basically drop it down that much. So I'll go ahead and throw this guy back in here. Screw it back in. And it should basically drop our servo down about 3 millimeters-ish. We'll see. And that should be enough to give us clearance. So let me get this in here, and then we'll show you.
A few moments later.
Boom, look at that. So now we have a ton of clearance. I don't know if you remember before, but this thing was sitting much higher up. Basically, the gear here was almost level with the chassis rail. So now we've got a ton more space. Should fit just perfect. Let's get this out here real quick. Yeah. So we're gonna turn on our servo to make sure it's centered, but much better. It is hitting on there, but I think the original one kind of at max steering ended up hitting. But now we're not rubbing on our chassis at all. You can see where it was rubbing while we were trying. And actually that rubbing was still pushing the servo horn off of here. So it was like lifting the servo horn, which means if we had screwed down the servo horn, it would have just hit, and there's no way it would have gone any further. But now we got tons of clearance in there on both sides. Oh, and look at from the top. No problems there. Like maybe when I said we cut it down maybe too much, it might have been just perfect. It's always better to cut less, try it, see if you need more, cut more. But I felt like worst case we could shim it. But man, it fits perfect. This backside, you're not gonna be able to see it very well, but see down in there, that little mount and our 2 screws for the servo. Perfect. And the thing sits a lot more flush now because I think this servo case is actually just a tad taller than the stock, which means when we went back, if we were to go back and put our little motor back on, right? Oh no, we just dropped a screw. It probably wouldn't have fit very flush there. Oh, maybe there's room in there. Either way, fits a little bit better. Lower center of gravity by about that much on the servo. So good stuff, good stuff. So let me get this all hooked up and then we'll test it. Alrighty, kids. Look at that. Ooh, buddy. All the clearance. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. Look at that. All the clearance. That thing was rubbing before. So we didn't probably have to go quite as low, but you don't want it at an angle either. Like you don't want the servo sitting at an angle. So I would recommend, I mean, you can see how far down I went there. I wish I could give you a better idea of how much it was, but almost all the way down to the actual platform, right? There's like 2 little nubs on top of the platform. I just snipped off of each of the nubs, leaving maybe 2 millimeters. And then again, just flip the thing in the back. A little bracket in the back right there, flipped it. Seems good. Ooh, buddy. Let's go. All right, guys. I hope this helps somebody out there. Figured I'd do it real quick. We're literally leaving at 4 in the morning tonight or tomorrow morning, whatever. And we'll be at Axial Fest Badlands. So we wanted to get our SCX10.3 Bronco going good for the Fear Tech. And yeah, hope you guys appreciate this. Anybody that needed it definitely will. And I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell if this is a video that helped you or that you think it could help somebody else and you just want to help us out. We appreciate all of our channel members. We appreciate all of our subscribers, and we appreciate all the viewers, even if you don't subscribe. We do this so that you guys don't have to struggle, and so that new people see how easy it is to fix some of these things. Sometimes people run into an issue like this and they're just totally lost. They have no idea how to fix it, and trying to find the information sometimes can be difficult. So we try to provide that. Get out there, build something awesome, build a car or truck, build a course, build a community, and then smash it, crash it, and bash it, but don't break the expensive parts. Peace. Oh, if you made it the whole way, why don't you go ahead and put choppy servo down in the comments. That way, yeah, I know you watched the whole video. Peace.